Hello, beautiful beings. Welcome to an episode of Love, Sex, and Magic. I'm here. I'm your host, Melissa Wells. And here we are for another solo episode. And first of all, we need to just check in with each other. A lot has happened since our last solo episode. We have the most incredible puppy in our lives, Rio, who has literally taken over my entire life. I'm sure you have seen on Instagram. She's literally just become the star of the show, and she is just everything right now for both of us. But especially for me, as Rick has just left the building. He has just departed Costa Rica for 2 weeks. So it's just me and Ria right now, and I'm training her. Currently training a few things out of her. She's got really bad separation anxiety, so she hates being left alone in the house. So really trying to work on that so she can move from being anxiously attached to more securely attached. We know, Rio, it's a journey. We get it. It's a journey. In many ways, Rio is a great reflection of myself, really. You know, she can be quite needy and quite clingy, and sometimes she can be snappy. So, as I shared on my story, sometimes in the evening she can get a bit anxious, a bit afraid, and so we're currently trying a few different things. We're trying some CBD in her food, which is definitely helping already, and we've been told by a few different experts to train her with a crate, which I always thought a crate feels like restrictive and trapping for a dog, but apparently no, it feels like a really good safe space for them to have a little den for them. So that's what we're currently trying out. So that's what's going on in my world, you guys. Very much revolving around puppy training, but I wouldn't have it any other way. She's brought so much joy and love into my life, and I couldn't be more grateful. Anyway, let's move on with the show. Today's episode is called, Is Your Relationship with Food Cock Blocking You? Now, let me explain what I mean by cock blocking. So many of you understand the term cock blocking to mean blocking you from experiencing pleasure, sexual desire, sexual intimacy with another person. But I want to also express cock blocking on this episode as just getting in the way of your life in general. Is your relationship with food just massively getting in the way of your life, your dreams? Is it cock blocking you from actually living your purpose? Is it cock blocking you from meeting your soulmate? Is it cock blocking you from fully stepping into your potential and your leadership? As you guys know, I've had a real ride with my relationship with food. I was bulimic for almost 7 years. Started off anorexic, very restrictive, very controlling, which moved into bulimia, binge eating disorder. And that was 7 years of my life. That battle ended in around 2014, which was when I started this business. And for those of you that are pretty new to the show or pretty new to my corner of the internet, welcome. So glad you're here. That's how I really got into personal development, was going on my own inner journey of healing my relationship with food, and what that opened up in my life, what that allowed me to open up and receive was just growth and healing and a spiritual connection beyond my wildest dreams. So I'm really speaking from real life experience here. You know, my relationship with food cock blocked me so much. I even remember I was working on this TV show as an actress and thought that, this was supposed to be the job of my dreams, right? I had the job of my dreams. I was on this TV series filming all day, every day, acting with some great actors, getting some great storylines. And you know what? I couldn't bloody focus on it because all my mind wanted to do was worry about weight, think about my food, think about my workouts, think about what I was going to make for myself. tracking my calories. And if I'm completely honest, that completely cock-blocked me from really like being in that job. And there's a few different ways we can look at it. Like, did the relationship with like was my relationship with food that destructive at that time in my life because I was in a job that was completely out of alignment for my soul? Or was the fact that I had this destructive relationship with food just, really cock blocking me from living my potential in that job? And I think both are true, depending on who you are and what your situation is, and how you want to look at it. But what I'm getting at here is really, if you struggle with your relationship with food, and you'll know what I mean by struggle is if you revolve other things in your life around your food habits, if you make sure that everything it perfectly aligns for you to have this specific meal at this specific time and this exact workout at this exact time. And if things don't go to plan, you lose your shit, then you know that, your relationship with food really has kind of become a problem. And I really encourage you to see this as an addiction, just as alcoholism or drug addiction is. And, having addictive patterns with food has become a lot more socially acceptable and a lot more kind of it's just kind of laughed about really and made fun of. And it's just kind of really culturally accepted that everyone has kind of a emotional eating tendencies, addictive patterns around food. And it's become normalized in our culture. And what I want to offer to you is actually, when you're living a life that is actually in alignment with your soul, when you are fulfilled from the inside out, you don't have to constantly fill a void with food from the outside in, because you feel fulfilled. You feel spiritually satisfied. Yeah. And if you guys have looked into the books that I have written, the first book is called The Goddess Revolution, which is all about quitting dieting and making peace with food. The second book is called Hungry for More, which is all about satisfying your deeper cravings and living a full up life. That second book, Hungry for More, is really about satisfying the real hunger of your soul, figuring out what you're really deeply hungry for underneath those cravings, underneath those compulsive desires to eat or to sabotage yourself. What's really underneath that? What does your soul deeply desire? Because I really truly believe, and from my experience as well, I have found that when I am fulfilled on a emotional level, on a spiritual level, when my life feels meaningful, when I am showing up of service to the world, when I feel lit up and excited by my life and turned on by my life and nourished by my life, there isn't that void that needs to be filled with things like food or alcohol or any other addictive substance insert here, right? So you'll know if your relationship with food is a problem if you're revolving your whole life around it, and if it's all you focus on. I can remember being at this point in my life where I was really struggling with food, but I didn't really know that I had a problem until I went to this workshop by a different coach, Julie Montague. And I was not training to be a coach at the time. I was just going to this yoga studio because I just had fallen in love with yoga. But I was really going because I thought, it will change my body. If I'm completely honest, that was why I first got into yoga. I was like, oh, hot yoga, like this will make me skinny. So I was going to this hot yoga studio loads. And there was this workshop being put on by this awesome coach and nutritionist. And so I decided to attend. And in this workshop, she showed us the Wheel of Life, which is a common exercise that is used by all graduates of IIN, which is something that I learned because I then went on to train at IIN as well. But yeah, it's the circle of life, and it shows you all these different aspects of your life, health, relationships, career, finances, fun, creativity, personal growth, education, and family. Did I say family already? Anyway, there's all these different aspects kind of in this big pie chart of your life. And she said to us, right, put a rating from 1 to 10 on all of these areas of how fulfilled or how, healthy and happy you feel in each of these areas of your life. And when I looked at my pie chart, I saw that health I had given a 9 to, because I was obsessed with food and health. So I was reading the back of every single packet. I was controlling every single morsel that went into my mouth. And I was going to hot yoga all the time. And so to me, that meant I was really prioritizing my health. Obviously, when I look back, my mental health was not in a great place because I was still a high functioning I still had a high functioning eating disorder, right? But at the time I thought I was being super healthy. So I gave health a 9, and everything else on that pie chart was about a 3 or maybe a 4. And I honestly remember looking at this chart and having this realization that, like, I was putting so much energy into my health, into my food, into my calories, into my workouts, into my body, and really just how it looked and my weight loss, all this stuff. I was putting so much energy into that it was completely blocking me from being able to move forward in any of the other areas of my life. It was stopping me from really being able to have the relationship that I wanted. It was stopping me from moving forward in my career because I genuinely was telling myself the story of I can't, improve my career. I can't be successful until I've changed my body, until I found the perfect diet, and until I've, got to a perfect place with food. And so I wasn't allowing myself to advance in my life because I was so obsessed and tied up with all these food behaviors, right? So it was getting in the way of my love life. It was definitely getting in the way of my sex life because I didn't want anyone to see me naked because I hated my body so much. The way that I saw my body was just just not good enough. Just this thing that just didn't look the way I wanted it to look and wasn't wasn't worthy of my approval, and definitely wasn't worth getting out for anyone else's approval or attention. And so I kept myself very covered up. And when it came to having sex in my relationships, I wasn't confident in my body. So, if he didn't want to have sex, I thought it was because I had gained weight. I thought it was all about my body. I wasn't able to, I didn't really have a self pleasure practice because I just was quite disgusted by my own body. I hadn't learned to connect with my body. I hadn't learned to how to feel at home in my body. There was no peace in my body. It was this battleground, right? And so my relationship with food for sure was cock blocking my sex life too. So think about this, right? If your relationship with food, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my God, this is me, my relationship with food is ruining everything, it's taking up too much of my life, then, sit with this. Like, is is that happening because you actually deep down don't want to have sex because you don't want to be intimate with someone? Or is that happening because you hate your body? And I mean, I'm sure for many of you if you're listening and you're nodding your head, I'm sure it's a mixture of both here. But think about it. Like, a lot of us, what we can do is we can turn to food. We can make food the main event in our lives so that we don't have to look at things that are more painful or harder for us to look at. So if being sexually intimate with someone is really fucking scary and you don't want to do it, but you've buried that so far deep down and you just don't want to face it, if that's the truth that you don't want to be sexually intimate, but you've buried and buried and buried that super, super deep, then what may be happening is you are binging, overeating, emotional eating, so that you feel shit in your body, so that you then have the perfect excuse to not be sexually intimate. Make sense? So it might not be that you just don't want to have sex. It might be that you desperately, desperately are afraid of that intimacy because of previous traumas, previous woundings in your life, and you have made your relationship with food the main event because it's just the best excuse ever, right? It's like, well, as long as I feel shit in my body, I don't want to have sex. So I'm going to keep eating so that I keep feeling shit in my body so that I don't have to ever have sex and be physically intimate with someone. That might resonate for you. This is what I sometimes come across with some of my private clients. This may not resonate with you. If it does resonate with you, then the answer that you're looking for is to do the deep healing work around what those traumas is, what that thing is that you have shut in a box and shut away and buried and tried not to look at. But also recognizing that it's safe to be in your body. It's safe for you to treat your body like a home, like a friend, and not just like a trash can that you're shoving things in, or like a project that it's never going to be good enough for you, right? So I hope this has landed for you. The other thing that I want to share is having a destructive relationship with food really cockblocks you living your purpose, right? As long as you're obsessed with food, you can't really be focused on changing the world or living your purpose. You can't really be focused on having a mission or being of service or actually doing anything of value in your life. Because having a destructive relationship with food, having some kind of disordered eating or negatively impacting relationship with food takes up so much of your time that it's literally physically impossible for you to have those habits and live your purpose. You will not be able to find me one woman or one person who is making big moves in the world, completely living her purpose, changing the world, making an impact, making a difference, like really living her dreams and living her purpose, and in a fucked up relationship with food. I don't believe that that's possible. I believe that having a messed up relationship with food is what is stopping you from living your purpose. And also having a relationship with food, having a messed up relationship with food can be the biggest, the most comforting coping mechanism that you can have that stops you from living your purpose. Let me explain some more. So just like with sex, if deep down you really want intimacy, but you're terrified of it, then your relationship with food, like having this problem with food, can be like a really good a really good justification, a really good way to stop yourself from being intimate because it's too scary. Same thing with living your purpose. If you living your purpose terrifies the bejesus out of you, and it's like, oh my God, so scary. I don't want to step into that. Terrifying. But you've buried that fear. Then having a messed up relationship with food, again, is just like the most appropriate thing because, well, you can't possibly step into your purpose. You can't possibly step into your living your desires, owning your purpose, living your dreams because, well, I've just got this thing going on with food and it's in the way and I can't possibly step into my dreams if I've got this thing going on with food, right? So just notice where, what you say you want to get rid of, actually you cling on to for safety and security. Because it is a coping mechanism, because it does feel like a comfort zone, because it does feel like a security blanket. And if you feel like I'm calling you out right now, then you are obviously meant to tune into this episode. But I'm only speaking from my personal experience. This is why really going on the deep dive journey of healing your relationship with food feels like a death, because you have to be willing to let old parts of you die. You have to be willing to step off a cliff and really, really abandon these old coping mechanisms so that you can step into your true purpose in the world, your true magic. It's impossible for you to truly experience the magic of your body, the magic of your life, the magic of this planet, the magic of the universe, if you are wrapped up in food, calories, weight, hating your body. It's just not going to work out for you, babe. It's just not. You've got to be willing to let that shit go if you really want to step into your true potential here in this beautiful opportunity of a human life that you have, right? So your relationship with food informs your relationship with your body. It informs your relationship with pleasure. It informs your relationship with yourself. Of course, it informs your relationship with other people. So that's why healing your relationship with food really is a spiritual journey. It really is such a deep dive healing journey of self-love, of coming home to your soul, of stepping into who you truly are. It's never just about the food. It's never just about the food. So, my love, I'm going to wrap up that episode here and now by just saying that if you want more, if you want to learn more, I have an incredible 8-week transformational program called Intuitive Eaters Academy, which has taken over 1,000 women from all walks of life, from obsessed with food, obsessed with dieting, obsessed with their weight, disordered patterns around food, to completely free, intuitive, completely full of self-love, driven by their mission and their purpose, experiencing the magic of the universe. In 8 weeks, you can have this if you're willing to go on this journey. If this episode has completely lit a fire inside of you and you're like, oh my God, this is me. I am willing and I'm ready to do this work. And I would absolutely love to have you inside that program. I'm going to give you a special discount code for podcast listeners to get 20% off your program price. And the code is simply Melissa, MELISSA. You can enter that code at checkout. Just go to melwells.com/join. Enter the code Melissa and you'll get 20% off the entire program. And I would love to see you in there. It's 8 weeks of truly healing your whole identity as an eater, your entire psychology around food, your relationship with your body. And we haven't done a live round in there for a little while. It's a self-study course. We will be doing a live round next year, in the early next year. But for now, if you want to get in and get started on this journey before Christmas, I think it's a really good time to do this work, because especially with COVID, especially with people being locked in their houses, I really feel that coming up to Christmas can be a really hard time for you if you're struggling with food. And I know this just as much as anyone else. Coming up to Christmas, it can be fucking awful, to be honest, with food. There's more opportunities. I mean, maybe not anymore because of COVID, but usually there's more gatherings, more Christmas parties, more food, more alcohol, colder nights, more comfort eating, and there's obviously loneliness as well. So lots of loneliness this time of year. So the real antidote to loneliness is self-love. So it's my wish for all of you, whether you choose to go on this journey of healing your relationship with food or not. It's my wish for all of us, for all of you guys listening, that you truly, truly give yourself the gift of self-love now, this year, this Christmas. I still can't believe that we're so close to Christmas, but we are. This year has been, it's flown, and it's been very interesting, hasn't it? So I hope you got a lot from this episode, my loves. Definitely share it on your story if you did. Tag me. Let me know what you liked. Let me know if you had any light bulb moments. And I'm going to do a second episode on your relationship with food as well. I'm going to record another episode, a part 2 episode about your relationship with food. So stay tuned for that if you like this. Okay, my darlings, I will see you next time. Bye for now. Take care.